It is my distinct pleasure and privilege to bring fondest wishes of Mazel Tov and congratulations to the Pardes educators graduating today from the 2-year intensive program preparing you for 3 years of teaching in North American Jewish day schools. As you know, the Avichai Foundation has been a very proud supporter of this program now for 18 years, and the results testify to the wonderful contribution you and the alumni before you have made to the Jewish community in North America. As is my custom, I'd like to bring wishes connected to the Parsha. And the Parshat HaShavua this coming week is Parshat Beha'alotcha. It is one of the most exciting and jam-packed parshiot of the Torah. I'm sure you've studied it over your 2 years at Pardes. And it is also a very confusing parsha because of the many elements that appear in it. It is one thing after another. It begins with a very brief section commanding Aaron to light the candles every day in the Mishkan, on the menorah. Then it talks about the investment of the Leviim, followed by Pesach Sheni, when the people who were Tme'im, L'Nefesh Adam, they were unable to make the Korban Pesach with everybody else, asked for guidance, and they're given the opportunity to bring the Korban in the Yar. The Anan is described, the cloud is described as guiding the Jewish people through their perambulations in the Midbar. The Chatzotzrot are described, the trumpets are explained as to how to build them and what their purpose is. Moshe asks Reuel, presumably Yitro, his father-in-law, to stay with them as they travel to Eretz Yisrael. Then there's a very brief section, 2 psukim, flanked by upside-down nuns or inverted nuns, which talks about the Aron going up and then leading the people and then resting and finding them a place to encamp. And then we have the stories of the Jewish people complaining about the travels in the wilderness, how difficult it is, the lack of food, that the man is something that they already can't stand, and the story of the Shivim's Kenim, the investment of the 70 elders who would help Moshe, and then finally the Parsha closes with the seeming slander of Moshe Rabbeinu by Miriam and Aharon. I would like to suggest that there's something in every section of this Parsha that you can take as a lesson in pedagogy. Because for the last 2 years you've been learning both deep textual study, but also the tools and skills you will need to be able to lead a classroom and guide the students on their learning of Jewish history, of Jewish tradition, of Jewish texts, really in an incomparable way. I think there might be a lesson in every section of this parsha for you as you set out on this journey. Like Aharon, I think the importance of lighting, having a ritual that is every day, that's something that is part of the classroom management, to have a regimen that the students know and can rely on. That's something that I'm sure you've learned through your many teachers at Pardes. The Leviim. The Torah describes how Aaron literally had to pick up the Leviim and move them right, left, up, down, back and forth. And I think teachers also have to be flexible to move around and not stay in one place and have the students focus on them, but they have to move to the different parts of the classroom, to the different sides of the children, so that they see all perspectives. Pesach Sheni. I don't think there is a more fitting halacha and story in the Torah that talks about second chances. We all know students will, sometimes to no fault of their own, will be unable to learn, be unable to produce what you're expecting. And the Torah says, if they want to learn, if they want to be engaged in the process of being inducted into the Jewish people and its traditions, give them a second chance. Lama nigara, say the people. Why should we be left out? For the students with that impulse, with that motivation, we should do everything in our power to give them a second chance. The Anan, the cloud that guided the Jewish people through the wilderness, but it also protected them from the natural elements. And I think the role of a teacher is very often both a guide and a protector. And I think you can understand the many layers of the meanings of those two notions. The chatzotzrot, the trumpets, they were used for multiple reasons during the travels in the Midbar, sometimes to assemble the people, sometimes to tell them when they should be traveling, sometimes to just bring the elders together, and even at a time of crisis. Teachers also have to have different voices. They have to know when to call out people to bring them together, when to kind of set them on a mission, when to lead, but also when to stir them up that something very serious is happening in their midst. So knowing how to use the different voices that your Pardes educators at Pardes taught you, how to develop them, how to use them, how to deploy them in the classroom. Reuel, never be ashamed to seek guidance. Moshe says to his father-in-law, "V'hayita lanu le'einayim," you can be eyes for us as we travel. As a new teacher, as new to the field of Jewish education, seek out your mentors, seek out your guides. Of course, the Pardes educators have an alumni support program, but even beyond that, find the people who, like Reuel, can be your einayim. Then the Torah gives us the upside-down nuns, the inverted nuns, to show that for all your preparation, for all the imagination you have of what life is going to be like next year for you in your respective classrooms, you imagine the ideal. The Torah will lead, the Torah will set down, everything will be wonderful. But we know that the reality of children, especially in America today, is not that they always want to be there, they don't always want to learn, they don't always want to be engaged with what you find valuable, what you see as essential to a Jewish life. It's your job to help them transform their urges. They're going to be sick of the diet of the regular curriculum. They're going to be exhausted for the travels. By January, February, March, you will see how difficult the long haul of the 10 months of the school year can feel. And they might even talk about each other or about you just because they're upset at something else and they take it out and they don't use their words productively and constructively. And the last three parshiot of Parshat Ba'alotcha teach you tools and methods of how to manage these various challenges that you will inevitably confront. Be it asking for help from 70 people to get assistance, even from among the class. Seek out the helpers, seek out the allies among you in your school. And also, sometimes you'll have to give them the slav, sometimes you'll have to give them quail, because from there they can lift themselves up and not be so upset at their daily regimen or bored. And when it comes to Miriam, there you might need God's help. I think at the end of your 2 years, with all of the support you've gotten from your teachers, with all the support you've gotten from your mentors, with all the support you've gotten from your coaches and from one another, you should know that we all need HaKadosh Baruch Hu's help to succeed in the classroom. So Parshat Ba'alotcha offers you this week, as you celebrate the completion of your training at the Pardes Institute through the Educators Program. Thank you to Aviva Goldberg, and before her to Judy Marcos, and of course to the Dean, David Bernstein, and to Rabbi Leon Morris, who heads Pardes. We wish them all the best. They've invested in you. The Avichai Foundation is proud to have supported you for the last 2 years, and we look forward to hearing the wonderful things you will do as you inspire the next generation of North American Jewish children in our tradition, in our people's history, and in God's Torah. Mazel tov, mazel tov.